Hey guys, it's Nobody's Law. I wanted to do an Arrow Season 6 review, so here we go. So, this season picked up in the aftermath of Adrian Chase's game. Lian Yu has been blown to hell, and Oliver and crew go into a desperate dash to save as many as they can. Oliver goes back to Star City both as mayor and Green Arrow, but quickly finds his life turned upside down. Again. Somebody has begun to frame him for a startling number of things, and his life is put under a microscope by local officials as well as the FBI. Things don't look too good for Team Arrow this season. Oliver is forced to give up the cowl to John for a little while trying to reconcile his home and professional life. That is, until John gets injured and it's revealed that he's been having a drug problem and lying to everybody about it. So Oliver is forced to step back in and try his best to balance the shitty team, the shitty city, and his shitty family. I do have to point out the outrageous similarities between Flash and Arrow. These last two seasons have blended together into basically the same character journey, but they're two completely different shows, so they should be treated as such. They just have way too many similarities. Last season, both Felicity and Iris's lives were put in danger by basically a dark counterpart of the hero, with a bullshit personal vendetta that took it upon themselves to tear their lives apart before actually taking their lives. Savitar and Prometheus were both just bad villains. Neither one of them could measure up to the villains of the past. Not to mention their backstories felt really weak. This season, while they did take it up a notch, they seemed to blend the shows together even further. They had new villains with an all-new gimmick, but the same goal as the last seasons, just doing it slightly better. Both heroes were arrested and went through a trial. They even had a double wedding, Felicity deciding to piggyback off Iris and Barry's wedding. How rude. This season, we saw the return of Caden James, come to collect for the death of his son that Oliver was supposedly responsible for. Caden James is a genius-level hacker, so any and all roads are open to him. Even his charisma is off the charts. But what was interesting about this was that James himself was not the big bad of the season, though he had seemed to be from the start. No, there was somebody behind the scenes playing him like a puppet, and this man was Ricardo Diaz. Ricardo Diaz did not seem like a DC villain at all when we first meet him. He seems underwhelming and uninteresting until he kills James and takes over the operation. We begin to see all the little nuances that really made him interesting as a villain. His intellect, drive, anger, and pure psychoticness. When he burned his childhood bully alive, I thought, now that's what I'm talking about. Arrow has always had very good villains, and while Diaz was a step up from Prometheus, he still felt short compared to Merlin, Slade, Ra's al Ghul, and Damien Dark. He was too whiny and just not memorable enough. He was like a big baby walking around trying to take over, and you're just not afraid of a baby. The tension between the team rose to new heights. Conflicts abound. Renee turned on Oliver, willing to testify against him in court to reclaim his daughter from the system. I knew that dude was nothing but trouble. Dinah kept secrets from the team about teaming up with her old partner that she thought was dead, our vigilante. And Curtis, well, he just needed something to bitch about. So when Oliver decided to spy on their new teammates, the three of them went apeshit and left. And while this is entirely their own doings, Oliver did make it more difficult to come to him with those problems. So it comes down to just the original Team Arrow. And then the two teams come to fight each other over the life of Black Siren, who is forced to kill Dinah's boyfriend under duress of her own life. Like, come on. Dinah was obsessed with getting revenge. Renee and Curtis were just gonna let it happen. Like, come on. Dinah was obsessed with getting revenge, and Renee and Curtis were just gonna let it happen. But Oliver wasn't. He and John went into an all-out war against their former teammates and even put Renee in a coma. I'm not saying he deserved it, but Oliver did give him the chance. So now it's just the three of them, John, Oliver, and Felicity. Until John decides to be the second big baby of this season and starts throwing stones at Oliver for not giving up the cowl. Oliver even gives him a very sincere apology, but John wanted blood, so he starts an all-out fight between the two brothers. Oliver is not a dude you want to pick a fight with. What the fuck? This season ends with Oliver attempting to make amends with the city, his family, and friends by giving himself up to the FBI in return for help taking down Diaz, somebody Oliver should have been able to take on himself. He hands over the cowl to John, he apologizes to Dinah, Curtis, and Renee. The team then heads out to take down Diaz, who gets away, but Oliver has already made a deal. So what's going to happen to Diaz? There was a character shift this season with Oliver's son William, who comes to live with him after his mother is killed. This is supposed to create a more emotional appeal to Oliver's personal life. But the actor Jack Moore just didn't hit home with his role. He felt far too distant regardless of the scene he was in, and just didn't commit. I can only see Stephen Amell thinking to himself, how am I supposed to work with this? I know he's just a kid, but they still should have found somebody who actually knew what they were doing. I also wanted to point out my growing despise of Katie Cassidy. This whole Laurel Black Canary, Black Siren thing is just getting old. The show is constantly bouncing this chick around between all these different roles, and none of them are any good. First season Laurel Lance was good, but then she just kept getting worse and worse, acting and script. So I would really like to see them finally just kill off all of her characters and find someone new to fill the void. I mean, isn't that why we got Dinah in the first place? This season also marked the return of Roy Harper for one last arc, as we say goodbye to Thea Queen. The actress Willa Holland did not want to renew her contract. She decided she wanted to take more time for herself and find her own way. So after 6 years, we say goodbye. She went out with a semi-decent story about leaving with Nyssa and Roy to find Merlin's secret treasures. Multiple Lazarus pits, hidden around the world. So, goodbye Thea. Goodbye Willa. I hope things go well for you. This season made some solid strides towards reviving the series, but not enough. And if they don't pull up quickly with the next season, we're probably going to see a drastic drop in numbers, and the show will probably get a forced finale. I'm hoping they do better. I would give this season a 7 out of 10, in hopes that it gets better. Well, that's all for now. I am Nobody's Law, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all later.